One of the main findings of Doing Business 2016, measuring quality and efficiency of business regulations, is that online services are quite important for the regulatory environment. So being able to start a business online, to file documents for importing and exporting online, to pay taxes online, and to be able to check encumbrances of a property also online. And over the past year, there were 10 economies that stood out in terms of making the biggest improvements in business regulations. So there, Costa Rica was actually the one out of those 10 that made the most improvements. They improved the process of getting electricity connection, and also, for instance, the process of getting credit. They have a new secure transactions law. Out of the other 8 economies, 5 of them are from Africa: Kenya, Uganda, Mauritania, Senegal, and Benin. And the other 3 are from Eastern Europe and Central Asia: Cyprus, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. And we see that all these economies improved in at least 3 areas measured in doing business. Most of them improved in the area of starting a business. They simplified regulations. I think it does stand out that Africa, with 5 economies making to the top improvers list, does make a strong effort in improving in these areas. And in particular, we do see that 30% of the reforms that happen across the globe took place in sub-Saharan Africa. So Doing Business 2016 updates the data from last year, but in addition also expands in 5 topics the data covered. And the expansion this year, in line with what we did last year, is to also measure areas of regulatory quality. So for instance, in dealing with construction permits, in addition to measuring the steps, time, and cost to do all the formalities to build a warehouse, we're actually also looking at the regulations in place to make sure that the warehouse is built properly, the inspections, the certification needed for the professionals that do the building plans or that do the actual construction. Another area where we are expanding is registering property, where, again, in addition to looking at the steps, time, and cost to transfer property, we're also looking at the reliability of the database and the transparency of the database in the land registry, so the land administration aspect. We're also expanding getting electricity to measure the reliability of electricity supply, and also in enforcing contracts to look more closely at the functioning of courts and the quality of the judicial administration. Lastly, the indicator that we also revamped this year was trading across borders to make it more relevant. And in general, all these additions and changes we hope are useful for researchers to further the knowledge on the impact of business regulation on economic outcomes, and also for policymakers to find new areas of reform and improving the life of entrepreneurs on the ground.